Hi, this is Curt and welcome to another edition of Fire Law Roundup.
Okay, well, on the not in my backyard version, I call these the NIMBYs. My Republicanness is going to come out in this one. I'm really this kind of just pisses me off. But nonetheless, here we are. We're in California where there's a wildfire every other day, right? And they're big and they last. But I want to go back for a second. The Canadian wildfires. The criticism that I've heard, the reason they get so big, this is background people should understand before I get into the California environmental issue. In Canada, the reason why allegedly the wildfires spread is because Canada puts very little money into clearing brush and to preventative remediation efforts, mostly preventative efforts, to ensure that there's no ground undercover and overbrush and everything that would burn, right? And dense stuff burns, and fuel. So they try to get rid of fuel by doing controlled burns. Well, in Canada, they don't. So it became a problem because now we have the wildfires that seem never to go out. And I'm not picking on Canada, but apparently they don't spend a lot of money on this. So here we have now California, where we have the Forest Service is doing their part or wants to do their part to clear overgrowth and dense fuel, right, for the fire. They want to do controlled burns and clear it out. And environmental groups, several environmental groups, have come forward to say, we don't want this to be allowed. We want a court to stop this. We're in the, I think it's the San Bernardino National Forest. They want it stopped. And what they do is they say, listen, you're trying to protect a couple of homes here. Why don't you go deal with the homes and, tell the homeowners to do something and not try to, just tear down the trees. And look, I get it. What they are saying, they're going to bring bulldozers in and they're going to knock down all the trees. That's not what the Forest Service said. The Forest Service said they're doing controlled burns to burn out some of this, dense brush. So I guess where my very one-sided Republican nature comes out is, sure, you want the environment, you don't want all these trees to burn, but you don't want us to do anything to prevent the trees from burning. You just want to tell the homeowners, let your house burn down or go protect your own self, but don't touch the trees. And, look, fires are a natural occurrence. They've been happening pretty much since the dawn of time. And there's a benefit to fires, right? I mean, I'm not talking about Hawaii, which comes next, Maui, but there is some benefit to fires that clear the brush and then things burn again. Now, fires are also bad for the environment. The carbon melts the ice, right? And it carries all the way down from Canada here, we see. But I get it. But come on, here's the Forest Service saying we're trying to save the forest, but you don't like the way we're trying to do it. So I strongly doubt there's going to be any success if the Forest Service has a plan, and this is the plan that works to save the trees. Then the LORAC should come down and say, I bless it. I have a hard time believing the court's going to stop the Forest Service from taking emergency preventative measures. But here we go. I want to save the trees, just not the way you want to save them.
If this was an isolated case, I think it'd be interesting to get into the details of it. But I think what's happening here is this is representative of literally hundreds of cases that are filed around the country on an annual basis by groups such as this. And what they're trying to do is they want to leave the wilderness natural. And they feel like let's leave it natural, and that's going to be the best for everybody. And fine. If that's your belief, God bless you. That's fine. Okay, but like, for example, I believe the John Muir project, I researched them, and they've had several other suits also. There's a number of other groups out there that have dozens and dozens of suits. In fact, it's like they're sitting back waiting for whether it's the U.S. Forest Service, the Parks Service, BLM, whoever it is going to try to go in and touch the forest. They're just waiting for that opportunity to go after them. And, fine, you believe that we should leave the woods natural. I respect your position on that, okay? But we have elected officials, and we have full-time people who've studied forestry. Maybe they have a different philosophy than you on how to manage the woods. But the bottom line is we have elected officials, we have appointed officials in government. They are the ones that really have been authorized to proceed along this line. And when, if we weren't having fires like Maui, or some of the other devastating, the Camp Fire in California, if we weren't having those types of fires, then maybe I'd be a little bit more willing to entertain these types of lawsuits, okay? But we're in a very dire situation. And these suits are potentially preventing, and I'm sure from their perspective, the environmental groups say, oh, you've got it all wrong, that if you only did what we suggested, you wouldn't have these fires. And I'm sure they are, okay? But point being, we're in a very desperate situation here. And we have a system that really needs to handle this problem. And we keep throwing Jersey barriers in front of it. Now we got to stop and remove the Jersey barrier before we can get to the fire. And then somebody throws another Jersey barrier in front of us and we got to get out and move it. We're not going to get to the fire. And I think these lawsuits here are very much like those Jersey barriers blocking the firefighters. It's preventing them from being able to implement the things that need to do. And, really what should happen is these groups ought to work with the Forest Service and try to figure out, whether through politics or whatever, to get the Forest Service to consider their views. But if the Forest Service has rejected their views and now they're going to try to find, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that, and the regs say you're supposed to do this, and the regs say, so we're going to try to slow you down in your preventative measures. Right. I think it's a shame. Again, if this was an isolated case, that'd be one thing. There are hundreds of cases just like this filed every year by environmental groups. And if you go in either Lexus or Pacer, you'll see them. And it's very concerning.
Yeah, and that's why I started with Canada, because Canada, that's exactly what it was. They didn't clear the brush. Well, okay, it's a proven failure, and look what happens. So for the environmental groups to say, well, this is the homeowner's problem. Wait a minute. It has nothing to do with the homeowners necessarily. We're trying to protect the forest.
There are folks out there that want to put responsibility on the homeowners, which is fine. If that's what it is, fine. Put it on but we're going to basically be living in burn buildings. Okay. Right. So basically if you're going to live in the woods, you're going to have a concrete fire resistant building. And when the fire's coming, you just say, hey, kids, come on in. You can't play outside. Come on in. Everybody stay in. We'll play some games. We'll, watch TV and everything. When the fire's gone by, then everybody will come out again. But the building is designed to withstand that. I'm telling you, I've been at some of the meetings back when I was with the NFPA where that's their, and you know what? Fine. If that's where we want to go, but that's not up to you as an environmental group to decide that through litigation. It's up to elected officials and the taxpayers to make a decision that they want to go in that direction, Right.